Let's jump right in. The Flash is finally here after delay after delay after delay, after reshoot after reshoot after reshoot. The Flash is finally here. You have seen The Flash. I want to know what you think about it. If you saw The Flash last night at the Thursday preview, please post your thoughts. We will get to your comments. Alan and I, in an earlier video, gave our remarks. I don't think much of my thoughts have changed about it. I do have some information about the post-credit scene that might change some things. So I'm going to get to that. But look, this is my favorite Batman movie of the last couple years, because there hasn't been a Batman movie in the last couple years. And let me just say that I think Ezra Miller can't carry this movie. This is the major flaw of this film, is that Ezra Miller was cast as part of an ensemble. And when you cast Mega Chad, Manly, Henry Cavill, and Ben Affleck, and Jason Momoa, not everybody can be a square-jawed, huge chest, 6'6", giant masculine superhero in a group. He was really cast against a type of the other actors to be the comic relief. And on that, with less screen time, Ezra Miller is fine. I always thought he was entertaining, okay, as the comic relief, okay? As comic relief, I thought Ezra Miller worked. He's not the focus. He's not the lead. As a lead in the film, he can't carry it. Not to mention two Ezra Millers. So you've got the one that's really kind of still whiny, annoying, a little on the spectrum in some way. And then you've also got the younger version of him. I think the one in the film is 25. The one he comes back not at the right time, 18 years old. And their dynamic it's kind of interesting, but also like the older brother, they have kind of a brotherly relationship, is sort of less annoying. But that dynamic just it wears thin. The stuff with the mother, him going back to save his mother, and I'll let you know when we're getting into spoilers. Stuff with his mother really worked for me. That landed. I have a very good friend who is huge fan of The Flash. He lost his mother at a young age, and he was weeping in tears at the end of the film. So, and also I have some thoughts about the end. I'm not going to get to that right now, but this is a Batman movie for me. And let me just say, I grew up loving Batman. I watched the reruns when I was a kid watched those. I mean, a little kid, and then watched it after school. We're talking about the Adam West 66 Batman television series. Loved it. Saw every episode. Loved that show. Was a huge fan of Batman. I have a vivid memory of on my 5th birthday watching the Batman movie. I got to stay up late and watch it on a Sunday night. I couldn't believe it. It was like the Batman movie, which is the Adam West Batman movie. Then just collected Batman comics, which were ridiculous. Then the Neil Adams sort of more serious Batman, The World's Greatest Detective, came to light. I remember reading in Starlog magazine that a producer named Michael Uslan got the rights to do a serious Batman movie. This is in the late 70s. And I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. Like, wait, they're going to make a serious Batman film? No one would believe this producer. It wasn't until John Peters and Tim Burton teamed up, got Michael Keaton to be in the Batman suit. And by the way, everyone criticized Michael Keaton. They thought he was too wimpy, whatever. Like this whole thing of like, why are geeks so critical these days? That's always been I remember sitting at Dave's Comics in Royal Oak, Michigan, talking to Dave and everyone who worked at that store about like, Michael Keaton, how can he? And then that issue of Time magazine came out and there was one still of Michael Keaton in the Batman suit and it looked freaking badass. It looked great. Mr. Mom is Batman, says Az, heel versus babyface. Yeah, no, it was like Mr. Mom. And I couldn't believe it. I saw that movie when it came out. And by the way, this was at a time, 1989 came out in summer. Movies didn't like go in theaters for 2-3 weeks and then they were gone and whatever. This movie, Batman, was in theaters from June all the way through December, because I moved to Los Angeles after that summer. So I saw Batman, loved it, and I had complaints. My biggest complaint about the movie, I still complain, the first movie, the character that goes on the hero's journey is actually Jack Napier, not Bruce Wayne. We get his story in a flashback, right? In a flashback at the end of the movie, Ever Danced with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight? But if you look at Jack Napier, he's the one that has we see the movie kind of from his point of view. And the movie is also from the point of view of the reporters, Robert Wool's character, and Vicky Vale. They're kind of like this. They're these outsiders. We don't get Batman's story till kind of in the middle, and then the end is like a memory. So I had big problems with Batman, and I saw it probably 15-20 times in the theater because I just kept going back. And I moved to Los Angeles in September of 1989, and it was playing at the Egyptian Theater, a theater that was freaking run down. It was like $1 or $2 theater. You could see movies there. This theater was so run down. I have a vivid memory of going to see Batman there in that theater and seeing a cockroach crawl on top of a seat, not on the floor, on top of a seat. I was just like, what am I doing in this theater? I'm seeing Batman for the 15th or 20th time. And in spite of the flaws, and there are flaws, I really love that film. I mean, I think a lot of it, Michael Keaton's performance, Tim Burton's sensibility, the score from Danny Elfman,
Jack Nicholson, for crying out loud.
And Jack Nicholson, Jesus. Okay, and then the Prince music, okay, Bat Dance, but also everyone had a Batman shirt. Everyone had that, the bat symbol shirt that you could, it was just and it was like, okay, normies are into it, which I don't mind. I'm like, all right, it's a big tent. You're welcome. So as someone who is a huge fan of Michael Keaton Batman, we can talk about Batman Returns another time. I went nuts. It was my inner child. I'm sorry. I mean, there's a photo of me as a kid wearing a Detroit Tigers hat and a Batman t-shirt at the Detroit Zoo. And so longtime Batman fan. And so I am biased. I like all the Batman stuff. I like when you see his scene, which takes place in the same kitchen where there's a scene with Alfred, Vicky Vale, and Michael, Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton. And they recreated that kitchen, which is where they have the pasta scene, and you sort of see old, disheveled, crime is down in Gotham. You see that version of Batman. It was great. It's like this is what it was to me. It was like the third Michael Keaton Batman movie they didn't get to make. We'll get into it more. So I am biased. I like the Batman stuff in the Flash. Yes, and there are the CG in this movie. And when I initially saw it, I was told that this wasn't the finished film. The CG in the movie looks like a PS3, maybe, and it felt temp, especially in the scenes that were where you see the multiverses as these, it's like a stadium. It's like a stadium, but then it's also these crystal balls or something with different universes colliding, right? That CG there, and also Michael Shannon, it looks like his face was grafted on. It might have, in effect, it might have been a deep fake of Michael Shannon. He may have they may have licensed the rights to his voice and face. He may have never, looking at it, because when I saw it, The Flash, the first time, it was in the very front row and it was IMAX. But wow, that CG is just unforgivable. It seems like temp, and then you give notes. Let me talk about the bad CG for a second. There is a short list of directors, because I made a film in 2005 called My Big Fat Independent Movie, and there are 50 CGI shots in the film. And what you do is you do temp, then you go further render, and you give notes. And there is a very specific, if you are able to give decent notes, and also the way you cut it, if you show it less, it tends to be more convincing. If you use sound design, shadows, and other like layering, you can make it more convincing. I'm not saying the CG, there are 50 CG shots in my Big Fan Independent movie. I guarantee they're ones you won't know are CG, like sign replacement, among other things. But you've got to give really good notes. When you have so many CG shots, those note sessions are crazy. There's a short list of directors that can do good CG in their movies because, and Christopher Nolan has stated this, he only uses CG when there is no other way to accomplish a task. He mostly, for the most part, uses bigatures, which are large size miniatures. Okay. So you'd be shocked how many shots in The Dark Knight are just miniatures. Mm-hmm. Like there's a chase with the Joker. He's in the van shooting missiles. Most of that is miniatures, but they call them bigatures.
They're the Batcave and Wayne Manor,
among other things. Just he doesn't like to use digital effects. Christopher Nolan is really good at utilizing digital effects where they don't look digital. Denis Villeneuve has also proven capable of that. Steven Spielberg, go back and look at War of the Worlds, among other films with special effects. He is also on the short list of directors that better integrates digital effects so they don't look so digital. I believe that there is a shortage of very good digital effects artists, and there are directors that are up against deadlines because this often happens. John Carpenter has complained about this, where John Carpenter's complained that there's release dates for a movie before they've even finished the script. That's not a way to make a movie. Okay. So I believe these bad digital effects were the director Muschietti was under a deadline. Maybe he thought that, well, these will be temp. I'll be able to better render them. But I have a feeling, and Gary Beekler from Nerdrotic pointed this out, and I agree with him, that he was probably told, nope, cut off. We're not spending any more money on this movie. Yeah. That makes sense to me. And that's probably the case in this, which explains the bad CG. So look, I am biased because of Batman. I'm sorry. I'm just biased. Yeah. Which is why I have issue 27 of Detective Comics, first Batman appearance, bagged. This is a reproduction. Okay, but it's a reproduction of the actual issue. Okay. It's a reproduction. I've not opened it. It's a reproduction of the actual issue with ads and everything. I couldn't afford this, but
so let me give you my different take.
All right, what's your different take?
I have no vested interest in the Flash or DC. That's not what I grew up on, and so So watching this movie, I had a great time. Because I'm not hung up on the Flash lore. I'm not hung up on Flashpoint, not like Secret Invasion, which I am hung up on. So I just came in as someone who hasn't seen a good superhero movie in a long time. And we know that. The Marvel and DC have not been putting out the greatest stuff. And so I thought this story was really interesting. I thought, we've seen a lot of movies where one actor plays two roles. This was seamless. It was all, the way that it was shot, the way the CG stitched it all together, it looked perfect. And I'm just blown away by that. The animation, I think you're right about the animation in the sense of new DC, new Warner Brothers not going to pump more money in it. I was okay with it because it wasn't meant to be perfect. We're in this dimension where time is slowing down and where other universes are colliding with one another, and we're bringing in characters like you've never seen before. You see people who passed away coming back as Superman, as Batman. Adam West is in the movie, for crying out loud, and the way he's running. I'm more willing to forgive it because of the context in which these effects appear in. Because I would much rather see this bad CG than some cheesy CG that I've seen, Flash and Quicksilver being done in. And so I was perfectly fine with this. To me, the only real weakness of this movie is the attempts at humor. It's just a little bit overdone, and it really doesn't get serious until Batman shows up. And once Batman shows up, the whole movie becomes deadly serious, and especially at the end when New Flash is just kind of going mad with trying to save Supergirl and Batman. So again, I think just how much of a vested interest you have in these stories and these characters will say a lot about whether you like this movie or not, or how critical you're going to approach this movie with. Also, if you're not a big fan of Ezra Miller, that's going to throw that wrench in there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But overall, I had a good time when I saw it the second time. It was just as fun. So I could see myself seeing it one more time after this.
Well, I will say this. I mean, you're more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. I'm more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. Okay. But even though I grew up reading both,
yeah.
the Batman stuff I just loved. I'm sorry. Seeing it was like the closing a chapter on that character. What happened to him, right? Like he became a recluse. There's no Alfred. Like it was, I don't know, that was just really satisfying to see. So I'm sorry. I'm not even going to apologize. I liked it for the Batman stuff. I liked it because it also ends. You know what? We're going to get into spoilers right now. So here's your warning. I'll put a warning at the bottom too, so you can see. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. We're talking spoilers. Oh, we had like 5 people dip out. We still have like almost 700 people watching.
Yeah, we still have 30 on Rumble watching us. So
oh, cool. This movie's a tragedy. And that's why it starts off goofy comedy. And yes, Ezra Miller, I don't know that you could make another Flash movie that wasn't weighted with other co-stars. And I also have something to add about the post-credit scene. So this movie is a tragedy. The goal of the character of Barry Allen is to save his mother. And because if he selfishly wants to, he will put the universe at risk to save his mother. And it comes down to, so you've got this big epic scale story of the it's not just the universe, it's the multiverse, right? It's all these different other universes at stake. Only because one person wants to save their mother, right? Who died tragically. Although it did annoy me on second viewing that they don't go into how his mother got killed, and they sort of brush off I can't get involved in that event, so I'll have to do something else involving a can of tomato sauce. But I love that it just involved that. It was sort of big events and a small thing, and something that you could get I'm not gonna lie, I got choked up in that scene where he basically has to say goodbye to his mother, and by his very actions, she has to die. And we are defined by these events. This is what Bruce Wayne is giving the sage advice. We're defined by these events, right? These events make us who we are. And the idea that he has to take that can of tomato sauce out of her cart, effectively saying, and he gets a hug and he's in tears. My close friend, I'm not going to out him, he lost it because he lost his mother at a young age, and he's a huge fan of the Flash. The story resonates with him, and I was thinking about my friend during that moment. That was heartbreaking. And I will say this: the audience that I saw the movie with loved this movie. It's a popcorn movie. They're not thinking too deeply about it. Maybe they're not as bothered by the bad CGI, although I think that's something that everyone will mention. It's a popcorn movie. Didn't need to be 2.5 hours. Yes. But that scene is really heartbreaking. And the other thing is, not only did Barry Allen not save his mother, he couldn't save that world.
Yeah.
Supergirl, Kara, could not defeat Zod. She gave a valiant effort. She is not as powerful as Zod, a warrior, right? She did her best. Her role was to protect Kal-El, who was killed. And then she dies multiple times. And we see it play out over and over in this world. Zod wins. Batman dies in multiple acts of self-sacrifice, and nothing that the Flashes can do will change these events, no matter how much they try to do something different. If you really think about this, it's almost like, which is why I think it's really smart that they included, which is in like a dumb throwaway joke, Eric Stoltz is in Back to the Future with Eric Stoltz, and then the one roommate has the tattoo. I thought that was really clever. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, we have different tastes in humor too.
No, but wait. But Eric Stoltz's take on Back to the Future was that it was a tragedy, that his other siblings lived another life he didn't get to live. That when he came back and things were, quote, fixed at the end, it was a different life that version of Marty McFly didn't experience. So he saw the movie as dark. And I mean, they almost filmed the entire movie. They should just actually make a version of the movie with Eric Stoltz and what his take on it was. But he was in conflict with Robert Zemeckis, the director, that he saw it as a tragedy. And then they got, I mean, everyone knows the story, okay, of that.
I mean, the movie was practically, principal photography was practically done at that point.
And they just remade the movie with Michael J. Fox, who was working his day job. They had to like have a car go back and forth, and they just redid it. And he better captured the tone. Eric Stoltz was just not making it work. So the fact that that's in there, I think makes a lot of sense, because this movie is a tragedy. That world ends. He doesn't save his mother. The hero doesn't get the one thing he wanted, the goal. And now look, there's a light tone in this, but if you really think about it, the film is really dark, and I appreciated that. So I liked it better than most, and I liked it. Their films, look, you can't convince me. I will enjoy a film in spite of its flaws because I have bias. We all go into films with our certain biases, right? Like I have a bias towards the Michael Keaton Batman because of my love of Batman as a kid and how much that movie meant to me, because it wasn't a perfect Batman film, 1989 Batman, but it was perfect. I felt, for me, it was Michael Keaton, just holy shit, he's amazing as Batman. I don't think he was the best Bruce Wayne. I think Christian Bale is a better Bruce Wayne, but that's a whole other conversation we could have, ranking the Batman, so to speak.
I mean, he was the first movie Batman. But I grew up after Adam West. Let's put it that way.
Look, I loved Adam West Batman, and if you actually watch, I have that box set of the Batman Blu-rays. That first episode, which was the pilot episode of Batman, it didn't air often. It's the only one where he mentions the death of his parents, and it's the only one that has a more serious tone. And by the way, a lot of the episodes of Batman, the 66 TV series, were written by a writer named Lorenzo Semple Jr., who also wrote the movie Flash Gordon, starring Sam Jones. Same tone, which is why I like Flash Gordon. Other long story I could tell about seeing that movie. But look, The Flash is like, I feel like it's two movies. It's a movie I really didn't like, starring Ezra Miller, for the first hour. And then it's a movie I really enjoyed in the last hour that ends as a tragedy. And we see how, and because I always like to think look, there are two good ends to a hero: riding off into the sunset, or dying in an act of self-sacrifice that is meaningful. Unfortunately, the Star Wars sequels didn't get that memo. But so it's like, it's sort of, for me, half of a movie. If I had to rate like the last half, I'd give it a 7 or 8. The first half, I'd give it like a 4 or 5. So I don't know, you average them, it's like a 6.5 or a 7. So I liked it more than I should because of my biases. So and it's fine. So there you go. Others will disagree with me. I'm looking forward to FNT to see their thoughts. I've already watched some reaction videos, but
sounds like they won't be as kind as we are to the movie.
Well, we'll see. The Flash. I like the Batman movie part that was in The Flash, and I like the emotional moments. So for me, the first hour of the movie is a 4. The last half of the movie for me is between a 7 and an 8. You can average that for what you want, but that's my honest opinion. I can't deny that I was entertained. I was entertained, and seeing Michael Keaton Batman on screen, not just seeing him back in the suit, but seeing him really full on Batman with the stunt work and enhanced digitals, I thought was great. And the tech, the bat plane, it was amazing. The scenes with the plane, they really made it more. It's better than in the Tim Burton film, the first one. I really enjoyed it. So, so your mileage may vary. Make of that what you will. I think it's ultimately, if you just ask me, should I see it or not? I would recommend that you do see it. But it's a mixed review, mixed/positive. Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely say positive. Not the greatest film ever, but Andrew Muschietti can do a comic book movie, and it comes across. So
what? And the other thing, one last point. Andrew Muschietti is one of us.
mm-hmm.
He is a nerd.
Absolutely.
The number of references, the Easter eggs, the call-outs, the fact that Ben Affleck Batman, the colors, he had the blue and gray that is directly out of the Frank Miller The Dark Knight Returns comic. Chef's kiss. I love it. He is a guy that gets it. He's full on comic nerd. He has the cred, the references, the fact that I'm sure he fought to get that stuff in there. To get the Nick Cage stuff. Like, this guy, like, he gets it. And so I only expect great things from him. And perhaps if he wasn't like in between the stupid, I blame the executives for the way this movie turned out, not Andrew Muschietti, the director. I blame the indecisive director. The executives are like, oh, should we do the Snyderverse or should we do this? And we don't know what to do. Maybe we have to do reshoots and we're going to do this and Aquaman. Screw those executives. Andrew Muschietti did his job. He's one of us. Not a perfect film, but I can't wait to see what he does next. And
you liked Batman in this, so
I like Batman in this. The tech, the Batcave, the this. It was Batman porn, and no disrespect to Axel Braun. Not everyone knows who Axel Braun is. Don't Google Axel Braun Batman. Google image that. Do not do that.